This is Matt and Zach who did the doubles tournament. They were the only one from House of Hobbies that did the doubles tournament. Um, Matt is a psychopath and did the solos and the doubles tournament. So he had what, 8 games?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
that was a long weekend for you.
mistakes.
All right, let's go into just LVO rival. You guys, I know think both of you went last year, right? So, what was that like going? What for this your second year going in a row?
Yeah, last year we kind of found out about LVO timing a little bit late, and so the only thing we could make it into was the team tournament last year, and so that was me, Zach, and Cameron last year.
Okay, so it was all
Um,
three. Yeah.
It was this really weird format, but no, it was a good time. Definitely far busier actually doing the singles tournament this year. Um, but it was good.
That's good. So going into the LVO this year, Matt, I know you signed up for the solos and the doubles.
Mhm.
Were you concerned on how many games that was, or were you just because no one else did this from House Hobbies? You're the only one that did this.
And I was the one most frustrated with the game in general going into the whole tournament. So um, it was a lot. It was very rough, and if I would have cared much more about the individual outcomes of games, I'm sure it would have weighed much heavier. But singles, I ended up going 0 and 5, and just having a good time. But long days, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you also kind of went late into daughters. So,
Mhm.
I mean, you didn't get, I don't think you got many test games in even before you got to LDO.
I think one.
Okay,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was the
I
one
mean,
with
that,
me, I think.
yeah. Yep. So that would explain it, right? So,
Yep. And we were joking that the singles tournament was just the 5 test matches for the doubles tournament.
yeah.
So
Um, and then, Zach, you on your hand, you just did the doubles and you just relaxed, I would imagine, for the solos, right?
Yeah, I was just wanted to keep it casual, just do duos. It seemed a bit more fun to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into your guys' list. There we go. So I mean, on paper, when I saw this, it's pretty scary. I don't think I ever played you guys in a test game on the duos, but I didn't want to. This looks pretty scary. So just walk me through your guys' reasoning on your guys' setup here.
I had 40 Chaos Warriors painted.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's already a plus. I mean, that's already hard to do. 40 of those guys painted.
Yeah, I did 30 of them in like a week at one point. It was
I
grueling.
I give you guys all the credit on how quickly you guys can paint. I don't know how you guys do it. It took me like 4 months to paint 15 trolls. So yeah, so walk me through like what you guys were like what's the plan here? What were you guys hoping for with these lists?
so my list was kind of following the kind of mindset that I came to even for the singles tournament, where I've been currently pretty frustrated with AOS in general, with how quickly matches resolve. And I've tried to build more defensive and more defensive to actually get to like play the game and survive some alpha strikes, and I could never really get in a list that worked. And so after a lot of theory crafting and whatnot, we kind of ended up at the Xanthar Kai, with the Melusai fighting on death. That way, at least if you hit me first, I still get to play the game and roll some dice.
Yes, that's fair.
So that's kind of where that kind of anchored around. Really, it ended up being at the 1,000 point, getting in as many 10 packs of snakes as possible. a 5-pack of snakes, all melee. So we have that fight on death.
Uh-huh.
The iron scale to give the run and charge to a unit of snakes. The slaughter queen to give the fight and hero phase if it ever comes up that something wasn't killed in the previous combat phase. And then good old arcane tome and mind razor to really just shoot up that damage if we can get it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I completely understand your frustration with how quickly games. I mean, a lot of it had to do with bounty hunters. That was a problem.
Yeah.
The other problem is just Cameron.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big problem. Those games last maybe 15 minutes, and then you're like, all right, well, that was fun. But I understand. I'm hoping that gets. Sorry to pick on you, Cameron, but you know it's true. So yeah, I totally get it. I'm hoping that GW learns from the bounty hunters thing. I think it was cool at first, and then it got really bad, and I don't think anyone enjoyed it. So I definitely get that. On the other side, I mean, Zach, your list is pretty simple, right? It's like you said, one word, wall. That's just basically what you were going for. Um, and I would imagine you just wanted to sit on points and let them come to you. And that was
Pretty
your
much.
that was your goal, yeah.
Yeah, most of it. I had a Nurgle set. Their job was hold objectives, and then I had a corn stack that would try to loop around and try to catch things off guard, throwing like 4 dice if they were on their territory or within an objective or whatever. So it was just kind of one to throw dice, the other one to take wounds.
Yep. Okay. I am familiar with the command trait and the artifact. What did those? What are those?
Um,
The
the command
sorcerer?
trait, yeah. So what that does is that just gives you full access to the entirety of the Slaves of Darkness spellbook.
Okay. Okay. All
So
right.
it was just kind of a easy pick for that.
Yep.
Spells are always useful. Um, and then the puppet, its entire thing was you could activate it during your opponent's hero phase, and if a wizard within 24 inches started casting, they'd take a D3 mortal wounds per spell they casted.
Wow, that's actually really good.
Yeah, it's as soon as they attempt it too, and if you kill them, it cancels the spell out.
I'm Oh, wow, that's really good. I'm actually curious if that was used a bit. Was that used quite a bit in the tournament?
We forgot about it in the only game that they had a wizard.
Do you think it would have had an impact on it at all?
Maybe a little, but probably not much. I think
Okay.
we would have survived a mind razor round because mind razor wouldn't happen.
Man, I've been looking at some lists for the new HB, and there's a lot of believe it or not, there's a lot of Lumineth lists with tech lists still. And boy, I bet you'll see a lot more of that puppet if that's the case.
I think so.
Yeah, that's a really cool artifact. Pretty cool.
And it was a last minute adjustment on our part when we realized that you can only have one of each artifact per the set. And we felt that the Mind Razor was more valuable than the second cast on the Sorcerer Lord. But in the end, we really never got Mind Razor off whenever it mattered.
So hard. If you don't have
it's so
pluses
hard.
to cast, it was on an 8, right?
Yeah, it's an 8 cast.
That's
So
so much. That's so.
I
I
think
think well, that's probably one of the highest casting spells in the game, right?
yeah,
I don't think there's
yeah,
anything
one
higher.
of. And every time we wanted to get it, I rolled low, and then every time I was like, no, I'm never gonna get it. I'm gonna roll a Mystic Shield. I rolled a 10 and a 12. So it is what it is. But
I mean, it's good if it goes off, but man, it's a tough one to get off.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into round one. And I know these are probably small, so I apologize. You can look at them on BCP, but okay. So then the I said snaky wall. It's basically snaky walls versus snaky ghosts. What I had because they were using Night Hunt and Dodgers as well. So before we get into the actual match, when you guys when you guys saw these lists, did you have time to kind of adjust and prepare like a plan, or did you guys just go in with like no hesitation?
I don't think we really got to think about it all too much.
Okay.
We went into it with a very casual outlook.
Okay. Okay.
and it was honestly it was a really nice casual deployment. We kind of go through and deploy things, and like, do you know what this does? Okay, let me walk through each of the units as we're putting them on the table. So
Okay, super casual then.
yeah, that is one of the perks of that doubles tournament. Is
Super
everyone is
casual.
yeah.
Well, and you got to see both sides of it. You got to see the solos
Yes.
as well as the doubles. So, and I think, I think next year, as crazy as you did all 8 games. I think me and Erica might try it. I think because when we were walking around on Sunday looking at the doubles, it did feel super casual, and me and Erica were like, yeah, this seems like we could do this.
Yeah.
So
It's a good vibe for sure.
yeah, so we
Mhm.
might do that next year. All right, so let's actually get into the round. So so walk me through the Ghost Daughters matchup.
We severely underestimated the matchup, but we kind of started out um, with a plan to do what we thought we did best, and that was let folks come to us.
Yep.
Um, so I think first turn, we moved like a unit, like a whole like 6 inches, and then sent a suicide squad of snakes off in a random direction, and that was it. We just stayed exactly in spawn.
Okay. And then
uh,
I'm guessing I were they really aggressive in their turns to get up to you?
yes,
Okay.
Mhm.
yeah. The
Um, yeah, go ahead.
biggest impact was the MSU Night Haunt. If you go back and look at the lists, there's quite a few units. A lot of them are like spirit hosts and stuff like that, where none of that really hits particularly hard. But there were like five, yeah, spirit host, chain ras, spirit host, plus the Guardian of Souls, and those weren't there at all for damage. Um, but what came to bite us in the end is that is 5 possible debuffs off the chargers.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Oh, and against the Warriors, I bet that
I
was
lost a lot of Nurgle Warriors on that.
yeah, that yeah, this is a pretty bad matchup for you guys also for the fact that because they're not because half of it was night hunt, you're it didn't matter if you fought again or not with the snakies
Mm-hmm.
because the range doesn't matter for them, right? So I mean, I guess you had number of attacks, which was good, but you could never really count night hunt out when it comes to defensive. Like they can still save a ton of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We punched through, and Squad of Snakes took care of. Uh, I think did we? I feel like we got most of a unit of the Witch Elves. Um,
Yeah, we killed most of them, and then they all rallied because it was that 4-up rally thing or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
yeah,
orator.
but they I think they double turned us. Um and they got Mind Razor off on the second turn on a full 20 pack of Witch Elves straight into both stacks of Chaos Warriors. Half and
Okay.
half.
Okay.
And so with only 10 Witch Elves at it was Mind Razor plus the High Gladiatrix buff. So we were looking at 20 attacks to each squad at threes, -3 Ren, 3 damage.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's like he rolled it out and was like, all right, that'll be 50 something saves.
Yeah,
Zach
yeah.
rolls out the saves and is like, all right, what's
Oh,
48?
and they were bounty
Yeah.
hunters too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
So
that
it was the Mind Razor,
that's.
High Gladiatrix for the Rens, and Bounty Hunters.
I think we're gonna see a lot of this list going in the new GHB too. So yeah, that's ugly. That is a lot of attacks. Those witch elves hit like a truck.
Yep.
I do want to know what in the world, because I have yet to play against one. What in the world did the black coach do? What was the purpose of that?
It was just running around shooting lasers at people. One of the opponents was like really excited about it, just blasting things. I was like, you like the unit and you have passion in it. Bring it. I like that. That's cool.
No, yeah, that's such a cool model. One of the best models Games Workshop makes. I was just curious, was it pretty useful? Was it
I think we lost 2 heroes to it.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So he
And
was
We
using
needed
it
the
as a
5
sniper then.
yep, it was able to kind of sneak around our backline, and the way the energy blast recharges, it just needs models to die within 12 or something like that. And so he'd pop off the energy blast, the witch elves would kill a whole bunch of warriors or snakes, and then it would be fully charged again, pop off another
Okay.
energy blast.
Man, that's
So
pretty cool. I gotta, the black coach, because Terranelli or whatever his name is, Nate, one of the better Night Top players for the AOS champs. I think he took black coach as well, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that now, just because he used it and it was in the list. So
it's an
I'm
interesting utility piece.
yeah,
I can't
I'm
say it hits
excited.
that hard, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it just because it's a cool model. I think it's that model's so cool. Okay, so then so because you guys are all basically GVs,
Mhm.
I assume that match did not end up going as well as you guys planned. Um,
No.
so what were your guys' thought? What was your thought process at the end of that match? Like, did you guys rethink your strategy? Because I know you guys hit lunch at this point. Did you guys
Mhm.
rethink your strategy on how you wanted to go forward to the next match?
A little bit, but honestly, if I'm remembering correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but I felt that after we finished this up, we felt that we played to our strengths correctly. There really just wasn't much we could have done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Circumstances, yeah.
I
the
think
turn we got,
that's mostly accurate. I think like the one thing we were like maybe we should have been a little more aggressive to try to take more charges or whatever, but because that was what really hurt us was them getting 5 charges off on us, and it was like Rend 17 or whatever.
yeah, no, in that when they double turned us, it was at where both of our big squads were fight last, -2 to saves. Like, when you get hit like that, it's just real hard to do anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you guys went 0-1 for first match. It was
Mhm.
that's a tough match to play with your guys' setup though. I mean, that was tough.
Yeah.
You go into round two. I don't know when they posted round two. Was did they do that like towards the end of lunch, or was it like were you able to look at this list beforehand or no?
I don't think we saw it until we actually got back to the room.
Okay. Okay. So I called this snaky wall, of course, that's you guys.
Mhm.
And versus snaky shooters. What is with the daughters that came to your spot for real? What do you guys remember what the battle plan for this was? I don't know if you guys had like any like seeing the list. I don't know if you had any pre-match thoughts going into this, like when they were setting up their models. Um, I know, I think both of you are pretty knowledgeable about Stormcast. I think I could be
Yes.
wrong. I know you're a Cities player, Zach. I don't know if you play a lot of Stormcast.
Usually, like the other tournaments I've done, I've only really done Stormcast.
Okay, okay,
But yeah,
okay. So then, what were your guys' what's your thought process here? What was your strategy on this one when you guys saw the lists?
I think the biggest thought that came to me was we're gonna have to play more aggressive. They have shooting, we don't.
Okay, yeah, yep. In that case, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
With how much I've looked at the Stormcast book and whatnot, I was worried, but not too afraid. There's the Night Judicator with Griffhounds on the list, which 30-inch range, 2 attacks, 3 up, 2 up, -3 Ren, 3 damage. Real scary, but it's only 2 attacks. It almost never hits. I have poor luck with that. The scarier bit is that 10 pack of Judigators, but there's only so much that can do. and we've got squads with 20 to 40 wounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, still those 10 adjudicators though, they can put a packing on.
Yes, and they
Um,
did. They did their job for sure.
yeah. Okay. All right. So then you guys wanted to play aggressive this match with the shooting. There's a lot of shooting in both these lists. Like this looks pretty scary to me. Let's go into the actual match. Walk me through this one.
Yeah. It's that diagonal deployment. So it didn't take too long for us to end up just kind of across the board, did it, Zach? I don't remember what we focused in on, but
They
I
put
think,
something forward.
yeah, they put something forward, and I think we sent my 5-pack of snakes off to take that short board edge uncontrolled point, just to tap our 1-2 more. We've got 1-2 more, and the freebie tactic. We don't have to move any closer if we don't want to.
Got it. Okay.
That's something that I'm trying to remind myself of a lot, is like the points are what matters. And if you can keep yourself safe and score maximum points, why not? But I think I was worried about the melee snakes for sure, because that's what I was running. We know
Yep.
those hurt.
Yep.
Um, because it was Nidus paths. I we don't have small units we can really leave behind. So I actually ended up leaving my Slaughter Queen in the back, just to prevent that teleportation.
To zone it off. Yeah.
And because I did that, our opponent actually kind of copied that and left their Bloodwrack Medusa in the back, which was actually very, very good for us.
Oh, yeah, because there's only a certain range for that thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that ended up coming back to bite them pretty quickly.
So how did you guys deal with the adjudicators? I guess that would be and the um I guess yeah. How did you guys deal with the adjudicators? Because that
Armor
seems like
saves.
is that Zach?
Armor saves.
Yeah, but how did you get to them? Did they leave them open?
Yeah, I just kind of walked at them.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if I mean, I guess if you're not going to screen them, the warriors will.
Like they were screened by liberators, but like Matt had plowed through the liberators, so I just walked at them.
Okay, I mean that's fair. That's totally fair. That would be if I was looking at both the lists, those adjudicators. I mean, like you said, Matt, like if you guys don't remove those,
Right.
they're just gonna keep pelting,
Yep.
and keep pelting. So,
And I think they took out both my 5-pack of snakes and my 10-pack of snakes. So it wasn't like they were doing nothing. The Stormcast player used kind of a unique strategy, in my opinion, using the Lord Relictor to actually move the Judicators around into locations for better angles and whatnot. So
okay,
they were actually short range teleports to just kind of get them just barely within range, but still within that 12-inch bubble where they could teleport them back behind the screens
yeah,
the next
okay,
go round.
interesting.
So
Okay,
they got 2 turns where we couldn't even get to them. But by turn 3, we had plowed through their front line. It was very, very funny. We just had this diagonal line straight across the board by turn 3. It was squad of snakes, squad of warriors, squad of warriors, squad of snakes. And
nice.
so it was just, we were moving in at that point. And so that's where, by that point, I was able to poke the liberators and let Zach's warriors go ham.
Yeah. Okay.
Never, I'd never had a warrior squad do 80 attacks before. It was beautiful.
Nice, nice. Those are and those the corn ones, right? Those are the corn that went in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, those Chaos Warriors. Not only do everyone says that they're hard to remove, but they have potential to do a lot of damage still too. I think people sleep on them from a damage perspective still, and Boy, the new GHB, they're going to be a problem for sure.
Because what did that profile end out for that 80 attack Zach?
Like, which part of the profile? Just like them being like 4 attacks apiece and the champion being 5?
Yeah.
Because there's like threes. I may or may not have. I think I had got the demonic power on them, so they were twos. -1/1.
Yeah, I'll do it. That'll do it. That will do it.
I rolled the first 20. He was like, yeah, they're dead.
Did you guys? What battalions was run? I don't remember.
Conquerors on me.
Okay, so you use Conquerors.
And then bounty hunters for my melee
Okay.
snakes.
Okay. Yep, that sounds about right. Okay. All right. So then, you guys ended up winning that match.
Yes.
And I think you scored
We scored max.
Yeah, I think you guys scored every point on that. So that actually helps put you guys up there. I don't know what you guys like what rank you guys were at by the end of 2.
28th, I think, out of 55.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. All
and
right.
a lot of that difference did come from that first match being the one where you get points for every GB killed.
I know. I'm surprised they used that. Especially for a double tournament where you have to have 4 battle lines between both of them. It's just I don't know if that was a great battle plan for that, but that skews the results quite a bit. All right, so then we go into round 3. I named this the Snaky Wall versus the Forest Cabbage. This was Sylvanethan works quite a bit different than what you guys faced earlier. What was your thought process looking at this match?
I don't like Maw Crushers.
Yeah, the Maw Crusher was. I mean, that had to have been a definitely a target for sure.
For me, I'm less worried about the Maw Crushers, and it's the Boar Boys that always kill me. Like every time I've been fighting or I've ever played against like a Maw Crusher, I usually get rid of it pretty quickly, and then the Boar Boys come over and just clean up whatever's left.
Yeah. Yep. I mean those pigs, man, they hit like a truck. They do a lot of damage. This is looking at this list. There's a lot of damage potential in both of these lists.
Yeah.
Dredja is a pain. And then if you put Dredja behind the pigs and the Maw Crusher, I mean this is a tough matchup. Just looking at it. And then you also have the Kurnoth bows as well. Even though Cameron doesn't like the bows, they are still good. Okay, so let's go into the match. Walk me through this. I was watching a little bit of this match, so this will be kind of fun to see what was going on in your guys' head as you were playing this.
Yeah. We got the opportunity to set up the terrain, and we took that opportunity to kind of create as much line of sight blocking as possible. We put the big impassable walls across the edges, put the trees in the center, try and limit the threat of the Kurnoths as much as we could, and just keep as many things in the way for the Maw Crusher to have to not run into. I think we started off with our third match in a row basically doing nothing first turn.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yep.
I think we wanted them. Well, that's the thing. When you start out that match, it's long ways. You're already well within the threat range of the Auric army.
Yes. Yep. They can alpha pretty well in that matchup for sure.
Yeah. So that's where we wanted to leave some bait for them to have to charge, but making sure that they were charging what we wanted them to, if that makes sense.
Okay. I did see, I was back and forth between this and Cameron's game and the top tables. So I was back and forth on this. exactly what you guys thought they were gonna do. They put both the pigs and the Maw Crusher straight in. It looked like.
Yes.
I uh, I remember watching the pigs get into Zach's warriors, and I think they were the Nurgle ones.
Yeah, it was the Nurgle ones.
Okay,
Because
and
the Maw Crusher had missed the charge on the first one.
yes, I saw you miss the charge. And then when the pigs got in there, I actually thought they were going to remove a lot more of these warriors. And when I got back and saw that like only a couple of them were dead, I was like, wow, that's really good for you guys.
We had a good amount of time for like setting up defenses and stuff because it was like shield, extra ward, like ocular visions is great on warriors.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. Because you were able to use ocular visions on the warriors in a lot of really good opportunities. Uh,
Mhm.
Actually, that does remind me. Back in round one was the one time where we couldn't put that on the warriors because of the Emerald Host.
Mhm.
D3 to the 3 units at the end of every round. He put that on all of our heroes, so it was just constant chip damage. So we needed to keep the heroes safe,
okay,
and that ended up hurting not being able to put that on the warriors a lot.
Mhm.
okay, that makes sense. Um, I mean, obviously we've discussed what the orc player does, right? And it's
Mhm.
pretty self-explanatory what typical orc players do, right? But
Yeah,
explain what the Sylvaneth player was doing.
you want to take this one, Zach?
I mean, mostly from what I remember is the player mostly just sat in the back with the Kurnoths just trying to pick off targets. I mean, I think it was about turn 3 when we were actually starting to take like major casualties from them.
Okay.
It was very much a support fire role, which was good. Like that's kind of something that those orcs needed was the firepower, just hitting things.
Yeah.
They
Dredge.
were and Drycha like threw in there too and blasted something. One of the snake groups, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think the game came down to because when I got back through like I think it was like halfway through and bottom of two or something.
Yeah.
Um, it looked like at that point it came down to because you got a lot of sneaks in to the Mockcracker and the pigs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we basically had all of the warrior, well, the what was left of the Nurgle warriors and a decent chunk of the Corn warriors into the boars. A full 10 pack of snakes into the Maw Crusher, and then a misplay on my part meant I was only able to get 4 of the snakes into the Maw Crusher. Um, from the other squad. I marked that one down as one of the major misplays of the match. It was the decision: do we try and get all 10 of them into the Maw Crusher and risk taking the Overwatch from Drycha? Or do we only get 1 or 2 of them in and stay out of Drycha's Overwatch range?
Gotcha.
That would have forced most of the attacks to go into the Boar Boys and only putting 1 or 2 into the Maw Crusher, and we wanted that Maw Crusher dead. Um, and so that's where I ended up making the decision to go into the Maw Crusher, and then I lost 6+ snakes to the Overwatch and Stomp and stuff like that. Where by the time it was time for me to attack, I only had 4 left. So I definitely think the move there would have been to avoid the Overwatch, charge the Boar Boys, and try and get within just barely that inch to chuck the mortals onto the Maw Crusher and leave all the rest of the attacks onto the boars. Because I wasn't paying attention at that point, I guess. Um, and I forgot how high the Maw Crusher save is in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
But it was best state ever Mystic shielded. And we were trying to go into that, and it was not a good decision.
Yeah. I mean, I think he ends up getting a two up with all out defense. He's a two up, ignoring one, right? So
Yeah.
that's rough to get through. And I think that probably was the turning point in that game because once the Mockrature flipped off, I think it took all those snakes out.
Yes,
Yeah.
that it did.
And then you guys
And
were kind of stuck there.
yeah,
The other thing that didn't help too is it was like today I learned orcs can pile in twice So they were able to catch my
Yeah.
corn warriors, who I was hoping to use as like in a counter charge.
Yeah, though. Yeah, the forgot. I can't remember if that's a if that's a pig thing. I think it's an Iron Jaws. It's the Blood Juice subfaction trait. I think is where the Gore Grunts can pile in again at the end of combat. Something like that. It's something like that. I should know this, but I don't. I'm sure Cameron will mention that in the chat. All right, so obviously we can kind of see where that matchup went from then, and at this point, I'm sure you were like, I'm done playing Warhammer for a bit, so you totally get it. I guess what we're so you guys ended up going 1 and 2. I think you guys ended up finishing 18th. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I
That
don't
sound right?
remember.
You say placing? Because I think we was 28th.
Oh, 28th. Okay.
I think we just floated at 28th the whole time.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. That's what it was. So I guess, by the end of the day for the doubles, I know, Matt, you were exhausted, I'm sure.
Yes, I was.
I guess just what are your thoughts on the double tournament? Because again, this is something that America, we are very interested in doing this next year, but I just wanted the overall thoughts. I mean, it did look like a pretty chill environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I it was a nice cap to the weekend. All things considered. We both went in wanting to take it a little bit seriously. But then after the first match loss, it was just like, okay, cool, we vibing.
Yep.
Let's just have a good time. Plenty of people drinking, buying each other drinks, and just really enjoying the afternoon. I think it was a great opportunity to just meet people, talk to people, and play some casual games. And for many folks, drink during those games. But
yeah. Well, I think next year, like I said, I do think me and Erica will do it. It'd be cool to get some more House of Happy Peoples to do the doubles, but it is a long weekend if you do that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to make sure that we're ready for that because. So I was exhausted by the end of day 2 for the solos.
Yeah.
So but it just looked so casual that me and Erica were totally about that. So.
It was definitely the saving grace there for sure. I was tired and miserable, but the fact that it was so good natured and so just generally fun focused was good.
Do you guys have any thoughts on the? And I was pretty surprised on the actual double rules. I guess what were you guys' thought? Because it's not your typical doubles that I've seen where you guys share your command points. You only get one heroic action for the team. This seems very, very different. Where I believe you guys both played as individual armies, going after one objective basically. How did you guys like that versus the typical doubles tournament where you share everything?
I feel mixed on it. It probably provides a more consistent experience this way. But the side effect of being completely separate armies is the fact that you can't affect any of your allies' units. You can't even use command points or spells on them.
Yeah.
And so that cuts down a lot of cross-faction shenanigans. But I feel like it actually reduces the level of collaboration in that double setting. There were many times where I was like, I want to use my spellcast and put Mystic Shield on those warriors. That's the most important thing right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I can't. Okay, I guess I'll Mystic Shield myself or Mind Razor my hero.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see from that perspective. yeah, not being able to function together, it kind of defeats the doubles idea, right? So I definitely understand. I definitely get that.
I
Zach,
did
well,
kind of like it a little bit,
yeah,
just because there are a lot of lists where like they collab or they work together a little too well. Where it's just
fair.
like, all right, this spell doesn't really say it has to be anything, but now you got like a damage is like 17 or 6 or 42. I don't know. I can't count. But
No,
like there's a lot of like shenanigans with it, which are hilarious and then also like frustrating to play against. So I mean, there's a lot of back and forth with that in the game, and I see it. And being able to have my own command points and my own like heroic action that gave us a little bit of wiggle room. Like, okay, I need to heal this room, this turn, but you need to get a command point or whatever.
Yeah.
That does open up some other doors while closing others. So I don't know. It's very very 50-50, but I enjoyed it. I think if it's going to be like that, we should be able to take our own relics. Like if we both have an arcane tome, that's great. But like, you know,
I will say now thinking on that from that perspective, um, yeah, there's probably some egregious combo with armies. I couldn't imagine someone taking like giants, right, and then having that matched with like something that's super magic heavy or something, right? Because then you just cast all your buffs on the giants, and they're impossible to kill. So I
Yeah.
guess I can see when you put it that way, I can see both ways that can be both good and bad for that
Yeah.
type of rule set.
And the first round we actually played, the TO hadn't made it very clear at that point how we were supposed to play. So we actually played the first match with shared command points acting as one army. And our opponent mentioned one of those egregious loopholes that he said that he was only going to use if we used it first. But apparently, the wording on the Daughters of Khaine 4-up rally, it just says friendly unit.
Uh-huh.
So if technically in that wording in the double setting, I could have been rallying warriors on a 4-up, which would have been absolutely terrifying. But
Yes, that sounds awful.
I mean,
so
my
I think
book
it's
still says
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons because there's just so many things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It'll be interesting. I look forward to trying to play that style and just seeing um what we can do for that. It is a weird rule set. I never saw that before, so thought I'd
Yeah,
just bring that up for people
for
that
sure.
um decide they want to do this. And who knows if that's the rule set they'll use next year, but it's a good idea of what might come for the next LVO. All in all, I think from a House of Hobbies perspective, it was a great weekend. I think everyone had fun. Um, any last minute thoughts on just the overall LVO 2023 experience?
Got to go to the podcast for Trapped Under Plastic. That was fun. I liked that at the LVO experience. I think that was my favorite part.
What was that?
A couple of the YouTubers I watched, they were actually like live there, and I got to go like interact with them. I think that was pretty cool. Like
Nice.
the amount of community stuff they had going at that event was just really fun.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I met some of the people that I also watch, and it was a blast. Me and Erica just had a blast meeting a bunch of people that we watch all the time. So that was fun.
I was too tired to do any of those sorts of
I
things.
know. I know. We felt super bad. We're like, oh, poor Matt. He just probably wants to just not play AOS for a minute. Um,
Yep.
but you know what? You're a trooper, and I'm glad you did it. You
Yeah.
played more
No.
games than almost. Well, I was gonna say Cameron almost had you beat.
Yeah, Cameron was the only one who was gonna match.
Yeah.
I was just the only poor soul who actually got to 8 games that weekend.
Not exactly the way you wanted it to, but yeah.
No, no, it's the way I expected to, but
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll end it here. Some of the stuff that's coming up, I want to try to get on here as well to kind of go through his Seraphon list and his recap, because I think he had a pretty good time as well. so I'm gonna see if I can get that. That might be our last recap that we do. And then Tuesday, I'd like to go over the Gits book. So I might get Cameron on here, whoever else from House of Hobbies, or whoever really, anyone that wants to just chit chat, and just go through the Gits book. I believe me, Cameron, Erica. I don't know if either of you are going to the tabletop next weekend, but I'm planning on running Gits, so I'd like to get just a chit chat going. So we'll do Tiny Toys Tuesdays uh, for this upcoming Tuesday, and just chit chat on some Gits. So other than that, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. It definitely helps the channel out. And other than that, we will talk to you guys later. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You.